All right, I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I need to, let me turn off one of these lights, see if it's better. I think that's a little better. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Everybody okay? Silence this. Okay. Okay, we're good. So ask me anything. I asked my Patreon supporters and my YouTube channel members and my local supporters if they had questions first. And so I'm going to address those questions first, and then I'm going to look in the chat next. So we'll get started. Oh, I want to leave that running. Yeah, this is weird. I did not expect to be stuck on my phone, but all right, you're getting a weird look at things. This is a little different. So Rob, from my Patreon supporter, Rob, who I actually met recently, I believe, there's a Supercharger stop on the Florida Turnpike, and Rob was getting gas in his, I think he had a hybrid. Rob says, "Hey Warren, I know you don't care about the short-term stock price for Tesla, but I was wondering what you thought about Elon selling his Tesla stock to fund Twitter. I don't hear anybody talking about this, but I think he should have sold Spacex shares because it's a private company and Twitter's going to be private. Selling public company stock and driving the price down significantly seems counterproductive to Tesla's shareholders. Selling SpaceX stock would be a huge benefit to people that want to get into a private company and wouldn't hurt the existing shareholders at all. Actually, if Elon sold SpaceX shares, the value of them would probably be at a higher valuation than they currently are." All right, let's take this apart. First of all, you're correct. I don't care about short-term stock price. And if you don't care about short-term stock price, then you don't care about driving the price down in the short term. Because I'm a long-term investor, I'm not selling my stock. It affects how my portfolio looks to others, but it doesn't affect how I feel about it. I mean, there's some positive feeling to having the stock higher than lower, but it doesn't matter. I'm not selling until 2030, maybe 2026, depending on what happens. I don't think it's easy for him to. I don't think it's easy for Elon to sell shares to the public from SpaceX. I think there are restrictions on privately held companies in terms of how you would sell stock. He wouldn't be able to sell it to a private company. He would probably have to sell it to like venture capital funds or something like that. So that wouldn't really be what you're thinking. I'm not sure how much it would drive up the valuation. It might indeed lower the valuation of SpaceX stock. Gary Black has a really good tweet on this, and I retweeted it, discussing why this doesn't really matter very much in terms of its impact on Tesla. And for me, fundamentally, Tesla is valued based on the fundamentals, not based on other things. So that's Rob's question. That's the only Patreon question I had. I think I answered Rob's question. So in the future, if I do anything live like this, or when I do videos on the Locals platform, if you want to ask questions in advance, get your questions answered early in the video, please support me on Patreon, support me on the Locals platform, or become a YouTube channel member. So I'm gonna get to the questions in the chat after I address these other questions. So DubG007 on the Locals platform says, when FSD is solved, full self-driving, how long do you think it will take for Robotaxi to scale? Possibly to the point where it defeats the point of vehicle ownership. That's a good question. So Robotaxi will scale initially because there are so many vehicles out there that are capable of being Robotaxis right away. Every Model 3 and every Model Y and a lot of Model S's and X's will be capable of serving as a Robotaxi almost immediately. So, and then Tesla will be able to manufacture, by the time FSD is solved to the point of Robotaxi, Tesla will be manufacturing 3-4 million vehicles a year. So scaling to the point of providing a meaningful Robotaxi service in multiple markets, that happens quickly. To the point where it defeats the point of vehicle ownership, that's a long way off. You have to get to the point where the price of a Robotaxi ride is less than 70 cents a mile before you really start, less than $1 a mile, but really more like 70 cents a mile that's the cost of vehicle ownership for the average American. Or the average American vehicle costs its owner about 70 cents a mile. That's according to Tasha Keeney from ARK Invest. And 60 cents a mile, 70 cents a mile, something like that. So when the price of a Robotaxi ride drops below the cost of vehicle ownership, then I see a mass shift away from vehicle ownership. And that's a while off because you have to make enough robo-taxis to drive the price down. If you don't make a lot of robo-taxis, then you're going to see at the beginnings of the robo-taxi market, you won't have enough robo-taxis to satisfy demand if you price the robo-taxi ride too low. So there'll be a window in there. Dave to Dave says, would you be willing to share your earnings from YouTube, locals, and the merchandise stuff? So I'll just really briefly summarize. My earnings vary quite substantially. My best month on YouTube, I think, was $5,500 from YouTube. My worst month after the early this year has been bad, so I've been down around $2,000 or $2,500 a month. Patreon, I make $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Locals, I make about $1,000 a month, and merchandise varies. My best month was $800. My worst month is probably a couple $100. So call that about $400 or $500 a month. I'm hoping that that the revenue will come back. I think the Christmas season drives up revenue, and the post-Christmas season drives down revenue. And one of the consequences, one of the benefits of COVID, of the public health panic, was people stayed home more and watched more YouTube videos. Once people started going out more, they watched less YouTube videos, and for a lot of YouTubers, our viewership went down and our revenue went down. That's why Patreon and locals are so important, because those earnings are independent of viewership. So right now, like my last couple of months, my YouTube revenue has been low. I make so much. I've made so much more wealth, not money, but wealth on Tesla stock, and I don't really worry about it that much. Really, I need to crank up my YouTube video production, and I suppose I should be chasing the algorithm more and making videos that are, Tesla stock. But I make the most money on Tesla stock videos and Lucid videos, and I don't make a lot of them. I make them when I feel like. I don't make videos to make money. I like making money from making videos, but my focus is making the videos I want to make, rather than the videos I think will make money. If I was trying to make money, you'd see a lot more stock videos and Lucid videos, because those are the ones that seem to make money. So I think that answers those questions. That was from the locals platform. Again, if I do a video like this or my Sunday Live, if you want to get your questions answered early, please support this channel on Patreon, please support this channel on locals, or please become a YouTube channel member. Exclusive content channel members typically get more questions. And then, I was gonna say none of the YouTube channel members ask a question, but Jim White had asked a question. Just a comment about typical investors. Some of my friends said, I wish I bought Tesla, and Jim is one of the moderators on this channel. He's also a YouTube channel member, so thank you, Jim. Some of my friends said, I wish I bought Tesla years ago, like you said. After Tesla runs up, they call me up and ask if they should buy. FOMO, fear of missing out. When it's high, I am lukewarm on timing, so they don't buy. When Tesla is low, like now, I call them back, but the dip in FUD scares them, so they miss the dip. I have given up trying to help friends invest. Does Tesla require cojones, balls, or is it too hard? Most can't. I think you spelled cojones with an H instead of a J, by the way. Most can't see the big picture. So there's another question in the chat that I saw that I haven't gotten to yet. I don't try to buy the dip. When I have free cash, I buy Tesla stock. That's it. I don't try to play. I don't think timing works. You never know when a dip's going to be, when a peak's going to be. The biggest FOMO of all is you're waiting for a dip that never comes. And you could have bought at 900 and you're waiting for a dip to 800, and then the stock goes to 1,000 and never comes back down, and you missed buying at 900. So my simple reality is, if I have cash, I think Tesla stock is worth more than the cash, and I just buy Tesla stock. And I don't worry about timing. Now, I will say that there was a moment recently where the stock dipped to like 700. And I didn't catch it at 700, but I caught it at 741, and it prompted me to look to see if I had free cash. So, sometimes I have cash, and I don't follow my accounts on a daily or even weekly basis. I really don't even follow the Tesla stock price on a daily basis. So when I see there's a dip, sometimes it triggers me to go look in my accounts and see what free cash I have. And so that's what happened. Okay, so let's go in the chat. I'm going to go, I guess I'll start with the latest chat question and work my way back. Andy Chan says, I really enjoyed the bull versus hyperbull debate at TeslaCon. Do you plan on having any panel members on the bull side of your show anytime soon? No, I don't. I don't think I have anything slated for any of them. I would love to talk to, I think I'm talking to the Boxable COO Galliano Tiramani. I think I'm talking to him maybe next week. I don't really like. I like Tesla stock videos, but it doesn't motivate me the same way. I like to do stuff I'm interested in, and yeah, I guess I'd like to interview Larry Goldberg. I've had Emmett Pepper. I just had Emmett Peppers on, so we just talked to him. I haven't talked to Bradford Ferguson recently about having him on. That would be a good idea. Let's see. Do you believe bot will be made at existing Tesla facilities, or will it be in its own building? That's a really good question. I think early bots will be made at Giga Texas. I mean, the only thing I'm not sure about that. I think early bots are going to be made in Giga Texas. Carpathi said something about getting back to his bots, and I thought Carpathi was based in California. I'm not sure where Carpathi works from. But I think in the long run, when they make them in volume, they'll have their own factory. Because the size of the floors of the factories at Giga Texas of a car factory are much taller than are needed for making a small bot. So I think the size of a factory you would have for making bots, you'd be able to squeeze a lot more floor space out of having lower ceilings. So when they're manufacturing at scale, they're making 1 million a year or 10 million a year, yeah, it's going to have its own factory. When they're just making the first 10,000, it'll be in Giga Texas, or it'll be in Fremont or somewhere like that. Let's see. Will Tesla ever produce lithium iron phosphate 4680 batteries? I'm pretty sure that Tesla will not make lithium iron phosphate 4680 batteries. When I was at Cyber Rodeo, I was talking to a Tesla engineer, a battery engineer, and he didn't say it exactly this way, but I think he was saying that that 4680 is not the best format for lithium iron phosphate, that there are other formats that make more sense beyond prismatic. Prismatic is the normal sense. It's like a rectangular box. And I think he said there might be other formats for LFP that we'll see in the future. Maybe he's talking about the Blade battery from BYD. I don't know. But he kind of poo-pooed the idea of 4680. So I thought it would make sense, but it looks like it's not. I answered the dedicated bot factory question. Where do you think the next factory will build? What production do you think they can produce out of a newly refined building and manufacturing process? So my opinion, and I'm sure I'm wrong, and hopefully I will be less wrong in the future, my opinion is that the next factories built, the next factory buildings built will be at Giga Texas, at Giga Berlin, at Shanghai, and then at Osaka. I think we're going to see the Robo taxi factory will be built at those 4 locations. Giga Texas is obvious. Berlin, I think, is obvious. Not to say that it couldn't be somewhere else, but I think those 2 locations are obvious. They already have the land for Giga Texas and Giga Berlin. Shanghai, I don't know if I have the land, but they already have a lot of infrastructure in Shanghai, so I think that makes sense for building the Robo taxi. And then Giga Osaka, I just believe it's going to be Osaka because Panasonic is building a 4680 factory in Wakayama, Japan, and because Japan is the world's 4th largest car market, and because Hiromichi Mizuno is a Tesla board member who is very well connected to the Japanese establishment and is from Osaka, and Panasonic, Tesla's partners from Osaka, based in Osaka. So I think Osaka, Wakayama, that area, also known as the Kansai region of Japan. I lived in Japan for a year. I speak Japanese. I think that's likely. I don't think South Korea is likely. I think South Korea is a significantly smaller car market and even more protectionist than Japan. How long do you think it will take Twitter to overtake Facebook if it's possible? Also, thoughts on the possibility the Twitter takeover fails. Thank you, Brooke. I don't think it's about taking over Facebook. I think it's about making a platform that's better and appeals to more people, and people will be on Facebook and people will be on Twitter, and I don't think they necessarily compete for the same audience. I think they offer different services. I don't know why the Twitter takeover would fail. I don't see a reason for it to fail. I think Twitter is poorly run, and Elon coming in with a good management plan will run it better. I saw some tweets from Jack Dorsey yesterday that made me think that maybe Jack Dorsey is planning on being the CEO. Maybe he is going to pair up with Elon and run the company. I'm not sure. Let's see. How many boring machines do I expect? I love this question. How many boring machines do you expect will be operating in 5 years? So I think they're going to start building 12 a year starting next year, if not sooner. So by the end of next year, we should see at least 12 boring machines. And then I think that will accelerate, and the within a couple years, we're going to see a faster boring machine. So I think by the end of 5 years, we're going to see at least 50 tunnel boring machines, and it might more likely be 100. And that's going to mean a ridiculous amount of tunneling done start in the next 5 years and going forward even faster in the future. Once you get to more than 100 tunnel boring machines, things like boring the Bering Strait becomes possible. So I'm going to work my way back, and then I'm going to come back to the new questions, just to be clear. Will the Teslabots each have a Twitter account? No. My thoughts about a potential conflict between the U.S. and China in the future over Taiwan. I think that's overblown. I don't think the Chinese are in a hurry to take Taiwan. I think they're patient. I think the U.S. economy is weakening, the U.S. government is weakening, and the Chinese economy is strengthening. And I think the Chinese, a lot of people project their views onto China. And the reality is, if you look at China, the Chinese government is very patient, and they can wait until the U.S. government collapses before they take Taiwan. They're in no hurry. They don't have to hurry. They have plenty of time. There's no reason why China needs to take Taiwan this year versus next year versus 5 years from now. They can just be patient, and it's more likely that China will China is much more fond of using soft power rather than hard military power. So my gut hunch would be that the Chinese are working on infiltrating the Taiwanese political structure, and they would much rather take over Taiwan without a shot fired. So I think people are way over-exaggerating the risk of that. Some people have argued that Tesla Semi is too heavy. I think you're talking about whatever. I think I know who you're talking about. Adam Ruins Everything did a video. I didn't see Adam's video. Somebody else told me about it, where he said it would only have a cargo capacity of 3 tons. Well, that's obviously stupid. I've already seen the math on Tesla Semi. It's going to have slightly less cargo capacity than a regular Semi, but it's really close. It's only going to be 1,000 or 2,000 pounds off. I believe some jurisdictions are going to, like, normal limit is 80,000 pounds, which is 40 tons. I believe there are jurisdictions that are going to give electric semis an extra 8,000 pounds, which might make it able to carry more. And a lot of loads aren't mass dependent; they're volume dependent. So I just think that's utterly stupid. 4680, the engineering of Tesla Semi, it's going to be very, very comparable to a diesel-powered Semi without all the bad effects of a diesel Semi. A lot of questions about the stock split. I'm going to say this bluntly. I don't care about the stock split. Stock split is something that matters to short-term investors, to stock traders, to options traders in particular. It has some importance for Tesla making it easy to sell stock to their employees. So there's a value in that perspective of making it easier to distribute stock options or stock to employees. But by and large, this is not an important issue to me. I focus on the core of the company itself, the business. How many vehicles will they make? How many batteries will they make? Will they deliver FSD? How much revenue does FSD generate? I think those questions are all far more important than stock splits. I think stock splits are like inside politics, inside baseball for Wall Streeters. If Tesla price gets closer to $800, maybe 2024 Leaps options at the money would be a good idea. I don't focus on Leaps. I don't focus on options trading. I looked at possibly doing an options by doing a call option, but you can't borrow on margin in an IRA account. So I just decided, I don't have free cash in my IRA accounts. I would need to have like $10,000 or $20,000 in free cash to do that. So if at some point I see I have $10,000 or $20,000 in free cash, which is not likely in my IRA account, because I'd have to sell Tesla stock to get there. I don't really put money in my IRA anymore. There's not much likelihood of me doing that. So am I still dollar? Guy-Bush asked this question, Warren, are you still dollar cost averaging into Tesla? I do not dollar cost average. When I have free cash, I buy the stock. Dollar cost averaging is a different strategy. To me, if you have free cash and you're not putting it into the stock market, then you're investing in cash. Do you think cash is a good investment? I don't think so. Let's see. Why did my girlfriend and I break up? There were some red flags along the way that I thought were not good signs for a long-term relationship, and I don't really want to get more specific than that in a public video. I think I talked about that on a video with my local supporters, and maybe I made that available to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube channel exclusive content members. So if you join my Patreon, if you join the Locals platform as a supporter, or if you're a YouTube channel member at the exclusive content level, I don't know exactly where that video is. I know it's on the Locals platform. If you join those and support the channel, then you might be able to see that in a live stream I did for supporters only. I think I talked about it on that. I'm not sure. I'm not telling you for sure. I definitely think the split's going to happen. I just don't care about it. Let's see. Do I think Starlink and Twitter might get connected somehow so governments can't block it? And I'm sorry the video's so shaky. Can I make this less shaky? Maybe if I put it down. I'm sorry, I'm messy here. Is that better? I think that's going to be less shaky. Let's try that. I think that Starlink might become viable as some form of internet backbone. I'm not sure that that's really the point of Starlink, so I don't think so. Certainly if you have a Starlink and you're in a country that has internet censorship and they can't stop the Starlink from working, you do have to worry that they might find you. That is a risky strategy. Then you might be able to access Twitter and other things. Let's see. Have I ever heard of graphene? I've heard of graphene, but it's not something I put a lot of thought into. Okay, let's go back to some more AMA. Going to the newest ones. Tesla Energy, any comments? 340W buy mag. Tesla Energy is Megapack factory is about to. I think the Megapack factory is done, and I think they're going to be selling Megapacks in volume. And I think we're going to see the impact by the end of this year. I think you're going to see significantly, at least $1 billion and maybe billions of dollars in revenue, additional revenue coming from Megapack by the end of this year, by probably the fourth quarter, maybe sooner. SpaceX getting into mining the moon potentially, especially for helium-3. I have not seen any reason for them to mine helium-3. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen that. Updates with the Lathrop Megafactory. I thought it was complete and they were starting to ramp it, but I haven't heard anything more. What do I think of the recent $4.5 million loan given to Arcimoto, FUV? It was an unsecured loan and would only last them until end of June, considering the current burn rate. I haven't seen anything about that. I follow Arcimoto loosely. So my general impression is they don't have a cash crisis, but I could be wrong. I did not see anything about a loan. I don't follow it. I own a very small amount of Arcimoto stock. I'm rooting for the company, but I don't know enough to say more. What percentage do people have in savings and in stocks? About 50-50. I have other assets, but in terms of my investments, I'm all in Tesla. I own some equity in the house that my ex-wife lives in. I have a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, some scary black rifles and projectiles that have some value. I own my car. I own my Volkswagen too. So what will make the market value Tesla stock as you do? Great question, Dave Farley. If you look at my video, Tesla bulls versus hyper bulls, I talked about this. I think we saw with Cisco Systems and General Electric in the past that there's this moment where the market starts to view your company as the clear market leader. And when that happens, what can happen is the Wall Street starts to give you a premium rather than a negative. Currently they have a negative view of Tesla. But if they start to assign a market leader premium to Tesla, you could see the stock price overshoot its current valuation. I think that so far Wall Street is just sort of catching up to what Tesla's real valuation should be. If it's conceivable that Tesla will become suddenly perceived as a market leader and then get a premium, and the stock could not only reach its true valuation but overshoot, and that's the moment where you might consider selling. If I tell you I think the stock is worth $20,000 a share and it's trading at $30,000 a share, you might want to sell at that point. Not financial advice, and of course it hasn't happened yet. Do we know what the stock split will be, 5-to-1? We don't know. I'm guessing 10-to-1, but 5-to-1 was the last one, so 5-to-1 seems the most likely to me. Twitter could use Bitcoin to authenticate all humans, and will it add some to balance sheet like Tesla and SpaceX? I don't even understand that question. Space-related question, but thoughts on competition? Thank you, Brooke. Thoughts on competition from China and Russia for SpaceX and NASA? I believe China and Russia are working on a moon base together. So I'm laughing a little bit. There's no competition for SpaceX. There's none. The only conceivable competition right now is from Rocket Lab, which, especially with their Neutron rocket that they're working on, could potentially be competitor to Falcon 9. The problem with that is by the time they make a successful competitor to Falcon 9, Starship will be flying, and Starship's cost of payload to orbit is going to be like 1/50th of Falcon 9's cost of payload to orbit. So you suddenly come out with a Neutron rocket. Let's say Rocket Lab succeeds with the Neutron rocket. Your cost to customers is going to be 50 times, the cost of you to launch payloads for customers is going to be 50 times SpaceX's cost of launching payloads to orbit. So Rocket Lab's going to have a very niche market. I haven't seen any signs of China or Russia doing anything like reusing rockets, so they're not really competing. They're not really competitive with SpaceX. Do you think Elon still thinks about a Tesla VTOL late decade or when? I think he thinks about a VTOL, not necessarily a Tesla VTOL, but I don't have any sense that Elon has any plans to build a VTOL anytime soon. How fast per days per mile can Elon make the boring machines perform? If you read the release that Boring Company came out with when they just announced their funding round, they said the current boring machine, Prufrock 2, I think is a mile a week. If I'm not mistaken, it's about a mile a week. So if they can deploy 12 of them times 50 weeks, that's 600 miles a year of tunnel, which is very, very impressive. But the next generation tunnel boring machine that they're shooting for, Prufrock 3, they're hoping to do 7 miles a day, which would be insane. I have a feeling that that's an outsized goal that they won't reach, but if they can get to a mile a day, that would be spectacular. So I never bet against Elon. When they say they're shooting for 7 miles a day, they mean it. And I think they have a plan. I think they have an idea of how they're going to get there. I suspect they will fall a little bit short of it. Maybe they'll eventually get there, but within 5 years, I think they'll be more than a mile a day. And maybe quicker than that. Maybe sooner than that, I should say. If other car companies can't produce EVs due to supply challenges and demand for EVs to continue to grow, is it fair to say the price of Teslas is going to increase regardless of robotaxi? Yes and no. I don't think it's about EVs alone. It's also about internal combustion engine cars. I think that, and it also depends on how much Tesla can grow volume. If Tesla can really produce EVs in volume, and then the other car companies can at least get back to producing internal combustion engine vehicles, then I think there's a decent, and the other question is inflation going to continue soaring? As long as inflation is going up, the prices are going to go up because that's what inflation is. I don't see any real positive signs that the Fed is going to get control of inflation anytime soon. So as long as we have inflation, you're going to see prices rise because that's what inflation does. Do I have thoughts on NIO Motors, which is a Chinese electric vehicle company? Will it one day hit $100 in a few years? I don't know what NIO stock trades at. I think NIO is an interesting electric vehicle company. It's one of the best electric vehicle companies out there to the extent that I know much about other Chinese EV companies. I think they're certainly innovating. I don't like their battery swap model, but I certainly think that they are making cars, EVs that are competitive with internal combustion engine vehicles, and they're making them in volume. So I think, but I can't comment on their share price. I just don't know enough about that. How much of a competitive advantage does the Supercharger network give Tesla? And will it be amplified when FSD or Robotaxi is fully rolled out? Yes. Yes, it's a monster competitive advantage. I go to Supercharger networks, well, 2 or 3 days a month I use Supercharger networks, and it's usually twice in those days. It's so easy, it's so convenient. The time people talk about how long it takes. You go to the bathroom, you buy a snack, you come back out to the car, and you're like late or you're done. It's very rare that I need to supercharge, and it takes longer than that. So you can, if you're driving a long trip and you get down to 10%, you're going to charge to 90%. That's going to take a while. But my personal experience is I very rarely charge more than 20 minutes, maybe 25. And if I do, then, I go to the bathroom and I get something to eat. I just supercharged on the way home from to take my mom to the dentist. It's a 3-hour drive to my mom. On the way home, I stopped at Palm Beach Outlets. They have a 250 kilowatt supercharger. I went to the bathroom. I went to Subway and got a sub. I sat down to start eating my sub, and I got a notice from the car that it was about done. And I didn't want to charge all the way because I was going to get home soon. So I guzzled a third of the sub and got back in the car, and it charged up to 75% when I was really only shooting for 60. That's how fast it is. So, that thing's overstated. Let's see. Sorry. Tesla getting into other forms of energy, maybe nuclear? No, Tesla is not going to do nuclear energy. Will Elon build Hyperloops on Mars? I don't think there's going to be a reason to build Hyperloops on Mars anytime in our lifetimes, Elon's or your lifetime, because there won't be cities far apart on Mars. Will they build boring company tunnels on Mars? Maybe. I haven't heard Elon talk about that. I think the energy consumption for tunneling is very high, and it might be hard to generate enough electricity to support tunneling on Mars, and I think Elon thinks it's unnecessary. I like the concept, but I don't think Elon likes it. Will the tunnels be privately owned with some kind of toll? Boring company tunnel system, I think we're talking about. I think there's different models for how boring company tunnel systems will be set up. The model I like best is boring company builds the boring company tunnel system for a city at no charge to the city, no taxpayer dollars spent. And then they give the city a share of revenue, let's say 10% of revenue for eternity. So boring company owns the tunnels, the city gets 10% of revenue from the tunnels for eternity. Boring company now has an incentive to make money on the tunnels. They solve traffic problems. There's some other conditions, whatever. That's the model I like best. I think there are other models where the city pays boring company to build the tunnels, like Las Vegas. I think with Las Vegas, I think Vegas is paid them. Oh, Ryan Tanaka. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan says, I suspect Tesla will eventually manufacture boxable-like modular housing equipped with HVAC water purification units. How likely do you think this is? I made a video about Tesla getting into housing earlier. I don't know that boxable style is what Tesla would go for. I think Tesla would be more likely to go for something at scale, like apartment buildings. But I haven't seen any sign that Tesla's going to do any of that. I think it's that more likely that would be a startup outside of Tesla. And I'm thinking about starting that up myself. So, will I go for a beer with me next time you're in Berlin? I have no plans to travel to Europe. Honestly, the public health crisis we went through and the way countries dealt with the public health crisis has really diminished my desire to travel to other countries. I may be going to Japan in the near future. That's a long story. But I, generally speaking, am not excited about traveling to other countries because I think that the panic and the way things have been handled, not just here, but in other countries, has made it less desirable to travel to other countries. And there's a lot of the United States to see. So, Rob, you asked about Lathrop Megapack. I already answered that earlier in the video. So let's see. Do I have any recommendations for battery electric lawnmowers? I have not looked at battery electric lawnmowers. Have you seen how many superchargers are going online now? It's stunning. 3 in Orlando in the last week. I did not see that in Orlando. I've noticed that if you go to the Supercharger page, I think they have a Twitter account or something, and they are pumping out supercharger stations. We need one in Sebring, Florida, where my mother lives. I would really appreciate, hey, Tesla, if you're listening, please get the Sebring Supercharger at the Wawa station up and running. They have permits for it. Please get that up and running. It's a big deal to me because it matters, but maybe that's not the drive. What I want isn't what drives them. Do I think that Elon will get involved in the Salton Sea project? It's called the Mother Lode in terms of geothermal systems with high concentrations of lithium. I have not heard about Salton Sea, so I'll have to look at that later. Andre Gronowski says, Warren, when should I expect a Cybertruck ordered now? 4 years from now? I think if you order now, it's 3 or 4 years away. Maybe quicker, but I think 3 or 4 years is most likely. Tesla plus Boring is synergy. Tesla and Boring Company have a lot of synergies. Do I think, from Mark Plot, thank you, Mark. Mark is a moderator on the channel. Do I think Boring Hyperloop will work? Yes, absolutely. I think there's no question that Hyperloop will work in the boring tunnels. The boring tunnels are the best way to do Hyperloop. They are naturally airtight, so it's easier to put to induce a vacuum in them. They're insulated from weather. They're insulated from idiots crashing their cars into them or crashing airplanes into them or whatever. I think boring Hyperloop is going to happen. And the Boring Company said that they're going to be working on Hyperloop, starting a test Hyperloop next year. I don't know where. That's going to be interesting. Do I think Boring Company will do an IPO? I think there's a good chance Boring Company will IPO in 3 to 5 years. I also think there's a chance that it will be something where it produces dividend income to its privately held to its shareholders in a privately held format, and that might mean they don't have to IPO. But I think if they want to manufacture a large number of tunnel boring machines and take on a large number of projects, doing an IPO will generate a lot of revenue and allow them to do that. But my gut is that if Elon can keep it private and still achieve his goals, he'd rather keep it private because you don't want SEC scrutiny and investors messing around with your company. He's learned that. When do I expect FSD beta coming to Europe? Do you think it'll be harder to solve considering all the bikes we have in Netherlands? No, the problem in Europe is not road conditions. The problem in Europe is regulation and government. It's the problem everywhere. When you guys get better forms of government or better behaving government, you'll get FSD beta. If you want to wonder why you don't have FSD beta, it's because your governments are a pain in the butt, and you're voting for them. So you got to change how you vote. You got to work to make a better democracy in your countries if you want to get things like FSD beta. That's gonna be better. How excited am I for the first Boring Company Hyperloop? I'm a little excited about Boring Company Hyperloop, but I think the first operating Hyperloop that takes people from one city to another is a little ways off. I don't think that's coming quite that soon. Any data on that? Let's see. Tesla's got $17 billion in cash. Do I think there will be any short-term investments in the business the company might make to use this? I think they're going to invest in... I think they're going to invest in new factories. I think that's the primary goal, is factories, factories, factories. I think they're saving money. How do I get this to... I'm trying to make this work. So I think it's going to be factories, factories, factories. I think they may buy a mining company. They may buy something related to mining. Those are possibilities. But I don't. When you say short-term investments, I don't think that's what you mean. I think investments in the short term. And I think they hinted in the earnings call that there may be news about something to do with mining. Starlink Plus, Amazon Prime. Starlink Plus includes premium access to Twitter. I don't know what premium access to Twitter is and other media that Elon buys. Plus is free if you have Starlink internet service. Otherwise, it's $10 a month. Free if you have. I don't want to rule that out. I just don't have any sense of whether that's a good move or not. What is the step change in battery tech? I don't know if there is a step change in battery tech. I think 4680 is a step change in battery tech, and I think what you're going to see is over the next 5 years, they're going to improve energy density of 4680, and when they improve energy density of 4680, but it's not so much a step change, it's an improvement. It's possible that solid state batteries will be a step change in the future, but I'm not convinced that solid state will get there. I think 4680 in 4 years will be so good that the case for QuantumScape or other solid state batteries might be weakened. It might not make a lot of sense to invest a lot of money to develop a battery that may not be that much more advantageous than 4680. Like 4680 may just be good enough that there's not a lot of reason to make solid state. On the other hand, if you can get solid state and manufacture it at scale and not only get it to be higher energy density but lower cost per kilowatt hour by a significant number, as in if it's only a little bit better than 4680, then it might not be worth the capital investment to get there. We'll see. Let's see. Okay, let's go see the new questions. Wait. What was that? Was that Ryan? That was Ryan. All right. What will the split be? I don't know. What would Tesla's stock price be at the end of the year? I don't make short-term stock price predictions, and the end of the year is a short-term stock price prediction. I think that after Q2 and Q3, if Q3 in particular, Q2 is going to be challenged because of the Shanghai lockdown. Q3, how many vehicles do they produce in Q3? What are the profits in Q3? If it starts to look like Tesla's earnings per share for 2022 are going to be more than $15 a share, and you realize it should have a price earnings ratio of 100, then the stock price should be at least $1,500 a share, but I don't trust Wall Street to value it. The reason I don't issue price targets or say what I think the stock price will be, I don't say that because I can't tell you how Wall Street thinks. I can't understand how Wall Street thinks. I think Wall Street doesn't make any sense. So I say what I think the stock is worth, not what how Wall Street will value it. It's really incredible that Tesla debt is almost zero when 2 new factories are finished. I don't know any other company that pays off its factories that fast. That's because they're very, very capital, and thank you, Jim, for the comment. That's because their capital efficiency is so awesome. Peter Pan says, if Tesla is only a car company, is 100+ price earnings ratio too high? Well, it's kind of a dumb question because Tesla isn't just a car company. I mean, I don't really understand that question. Tesla is a lot of different things. It is, 90% of revenue right now is as a car company, and their revenue as a car company is growing really fast, and their profits as a car company is growing really fast. So even only as a car company, I think 100 price earnings ratio is low, even just as a car company, because they're growing revenues fast and they're growing profits faster and their margins are getting better and all those reasons. Luke Gooderham says boring tunnels for goods. Yes, that's actually on the Boring Company website. One of the intended uses of Boring Company tunnels is for shipping containers, cargo containers. That's a particularly good use, especially if you figure like midnight to 6 a.m. There's probably not a vehicle passenger traffic. And I think you might even see dedicated cargo tunnels. Actually, my vision for the boring the Bering Strait is 2 cargo tunnels, one going to China, one coming from China. The ones going back to China are probably empty, but we'll see. I almost think they just make one cargo tunnel coming from China, and they don't bother sending the shipping containers back the other way. They just come up with cheap shipping containers. Where would the new Tesla Gigafactory be? I answered that already, but I'll just say Giga Texas, Giga Berlin, Shanghai, and Osaka are my picks for where the next Gigafactories, the next factories will be built. Do I think the Tesla Semi will work? Yes, absolutely Tesla Semi will work. Semi? Do I have Palantir stock? No. Why you got divorced if you're open to sharing? Was it something to do with Tesla stocks? Had nothing to do with Tesla stock. And we grew. The simplest answer to why I got divorced is we grew apart. We have different, our lives changed in various ways, and we're still good friends. We just talked day before yesterday. We still care about our children. We still work together about our children and all that. And I still want the best for her in life. But we just grew apart with different goals. I can't say Tesla didn't play any part in it at all, but it wasn't the stocks. I joked that Elon was my mistress and she got jealous of my mistress, but that's not it. There's a lot more to it than that. Any marriage and divorce is way more complicated than something you can explain in this short space. Mars has some natural tunnels spotted from space. I'm not sure that they spotted what might be tunnels from space. I don't know if they know that they're tunnels. Jim, you probably know more about it than I do, Jim. Will there be a Gigafactory built in Mexico? I know there were plans in the past. I've not heard about any plans for a Gigafactory in Mexico. I don't think it makes sense to build a Gigafactory in Mexico. I think if you were going to build one in Latin America, you would build it in Brazil or Argentina or something like that. But I don't know enough about Latin America to really say where it would make sense. I've been to Mexico, I've been near the Mexican border when I was at Starbase, and I was in Cozumel on a cruise. So I have very little Mexico experience. I've been to Mexico adjacent in Texas and California quite a bit, but I've never really spent time in Mexico. From what I understand, Brazil has a lot of manufacturing and a lot of vehicle manufacturing, and Brazil would make a lot of sense if you're going to build a factory somewhere in Latin America. So do I sometimes regret divorce? No. When are the Bikini girls coming back? They're not. I can't say never, but I don't have... I think the thought is when I get my Cybertruck. I actually talked to some people about this. When I get my Cybertruck, I may have Bikini girls in the first Cybertruck video. And Ellie in Space volunteered to be one of the Bikini girls for the Cybertruck video. So we'll see. I do know some local Instagram models who might be willing to participate in a Cybertruck video. So it could happen in that context. How many Bikini girls can we fit in the back of a Cybertruck? Something stupid like that. But genuinely, I think Cybertruck and Bikini goes together really well. So anyway, let's see. Jim Jenkins, you asked way too many questions there. I don't even know what those questions are. Where in Florida is real estate inexpensive with nice beach? Nowhere. Thank you, PV Doug, for your support. Any news on the new computer Tesla? Hang on, let me see. Did I ever hear back from Dan O'Dowd re an interview? No, of course not. Dan O'Dowd is not going to interview with me. Wouldn't opening up FSD beta to more users be bad as they already have enough data? More users mean more risk that somebody doesn't pay attention and cause accidents. So there's two mistakes in what you said. There's never too much data. I think they're ramping up the supercomputers at the home office or wherever wherever the mothership is. And more data is always better. And I don't think they have a problem processing the data. I think they They always want more data. And also, more users does not mean more risk. FSD beta with a superhuman supervisor is safer than a human driving alone. I think people really have trouble getting that. I am telling you, from my own experience with FSD beta, I had my daughter driving me an FSD beta. FSD beta is safer than human driving alone, period. No question about it. Let's see. How do I feel about NVIDIA as an investment? I think NVIDIA might be a good investment, but I haven't looked at it. I think NVIDIA has a good future as a company. I haven't looked at it to say whether it's valued. I don't know what the stock price is. I don't know what the market cap is. I don't know what their revenue or profit is. I do think it's a good company. They make good products. I think they're competitive in the AI space. I think there's room for other competitors in the AI space aside from Tesla. Any chance Elon could have bought Twitter with a view to Trump being elected in 2024? No. No, I don't think that's Elon's motivation at all, not one bit. So anyway, sorry, and Andre's question, where in Florida real estate is inexpensive with nice beach? Nowhere is it inexpensive with nice beach, but real estate in Florida is less expensive the further north you go. With the exception of the Jacksonville area is probably more expensive. When you get more rural counties, I would say probably on the west coast, north of Tampa, and on the east coast, not near the beach, north of Canaveral. Oh, Tim Crowley, have you read any of the culture novels by Ian Banks? I've read multiple culture novels, highly recommended. The Culture series is supposedly Elon's favorite science fiction series. Absolutely brilliant. You can see Neuralink and something called Neuralace in the stories. There's a lot of really good stuff in Culture series. I probably read 4 or 5 of the books. One of them I didn't like. I think there's 10 of them, and I've read 4 or 5 or 6 of them. I don't remember how many I've read. Let's see. Okay, let's go back here. Did you watch the Why Elon video from Zach and Jess? Now you know about deleting the mobile charging cable. No, I didn't see that. I'm aware. I didn't bother making a video about the mobile charging cable debacle. I think that it makes perfect sense to not give the mobile charging cable to every vehicle because probably at least half of vehicle owners aren't going to use it. It doesn't make sense to make everyone pay $300 extra in the price of the car for something they're not going to use. I think the old school people are convinced that you need the mobile charging cable for emergencies. The reality is I charge at home with the mobile charging cable because I haven't installed a fast charger at home. Once I install a fast charger at home, I would never use the mobile charging cable again. Never. I would probably never use it again. I can't see why I would use the mobile charging cable at all, anywhere, ever. There's plenty of superchargers. There's free charging at a local plaza near me. There's a free charging in Delray Beach parking garage. And all those, I just need an adapter. I don't know. We'll see how I do here. I just got a low battery and I got a charger over there I have to go get. You're going to see me in my boxer shorts, but oh well. At about 20x on Tesla, when will I get the next 20x? I think the next 20x would be in the mid-2030s. Let's see. One pod car to rule them all, one to bind them in darkness. Nice. Will Tesla Taxi make a lot of money for Tesla from the start, or will it take some years until the cash flow rolls in? I think in the early days, Tesla Robo Taxi will make a lot of money on a per vehicle basis, like $50,000 a year times 10 million vehicles is $500 billion a year in gross profit, something like that. Maybe $600 billion a year in gross profit, which is insanely high. $400 billion in net profit drives like a $12 to $20 trillion market cap and $12,000, $20,000 share price. But take it out to 100 million vehicles with $25,000 profit, and you just 5x that number, and you get insane. So I think pretty quickly you see Robotaxi scale to crazy profits for Tesla. Has Elon ever talked about a plan B if Russia shuts off the national gas to Germany? I haven't heard him talk about that. Elon was upset when his friends on the Babylon Bee got suspended over a joke. He was not publicly upset over Trump getting suspended. Yeah. I mean, I think he probably thinks that was a bad choice, but how many bikini girls can fit in a Cybertruck? Sounds like your first 1 million viewer video. Yes. When will Tesla hit $200,000 a share? So if Tesla delivers the Robotaxi network and gets to 100 million Robotaxis making $25,000 a year in gross profit, I think that could push it to $200,000 a share, and then bot can push it way over that. I've got napkin math videos coming up. I just did a napkin math video. I think I just did a napkin math video about battery revenue model, and I don't think I got it to $200,000 a share with the battery revenue model, but I'd have to look at that again. I don't think I have that handy. So if you check my battery revenue model, you'll see how high I think I can go with that. I think I can push it up to $100,000 a share with that model. But yeah. What? Yeah, I mean, I think if Tesla overperforms just on batteries, that might be enough. But really, it's when Robotaxi goes live, and bot can push it higher than 200,000. So 2030, 2035, something like that. How many shares of Tesla to be worth $1 million in 10 years? If one share of Tesla is worth let's say $50,000, then what is that, 20 shares? Any news on the new computer and the Teslabot? I don't know anything. Oh, the new Dojo computer. I don't think there's any news on Dojo. I think they're working on it. They're probably testing it out. Teslabot, I think Elon said there might be a prototype this year. Let's see. Vaso says $100,000 a share is a long way off. If the Robotaxi network goes live and they get to, like 2030, they get to 100 million Robotaxis, which is not as crazy as it sounds, and they're each making $25,000 a year in gross profit, you do the math, it's not hard to get to $100,000 a share. How long do I think Carpathi will continue to work at Tesla after his sabbatical leave? I think Carpathi loves his work at Tesla. I don't think he's going to leave. I mean, eventually, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. When the AI work is done, if that's ever going to happen, when does Robotaxi go live? I want to say late 2023, but 2024 might be a little more likely. When will the standard range 4680 Model Y become available? Are you psychic? I'm guessing you'll be able to order it. Where are we, in April now? We're almost at the end of April. By the end of June, hopefully you can order it. I mean, hopefully sooner than that. I'm surprised that you haven't been able to order it yet. Do I think Rtds will ever become an alternative to batteries? I don't know what an Rtd is, so I can't answer that question. Did I apply to Boring Company to lobby against ad colum property rights and for homesteading tunnels? No. I don't know what you mean, so I didn't do that. Thoughts on Boxable? Think they will succeed in producing one house per minute? I'm going to interview Galliano Tiramani next week. He's the COO and founder of Boxable, so we'll see what he says. I heard some good reports from someone that they actually made significant deliveries to a customer, but I don't have full information on that. I'm suspicious of Boxable, but I have vaguely positive feeling. What is it? Trust but verify? No, I think Boxable may have good prospects. I'm just not sure whether I buy the story. And we'll see how my interview with Galliano Tiramani goes. Thoughts on Andre's sabbatical? I think it's great that Andre's taking a break. He worked very hard for a long time and he deserves a break. What are my top holdings besides Tesla? Equity in the house, my Model 3, a little bit of gold in my accounts. In the family account I manage, I don't know off the top of my head. Probably like index funds. RTG, radio. I don't know about radioisotope, whatever that is. Let's see. What are some of the things that you will splurge on when Tesla hits Apple-like status? I don't expect to splurge on anything. I have enough. I live simple. I'm buying a Model X Plaid, so I guess you got that. Although that's actually an investment that I think will pay off and that'll help me pay for the Cybertruck. How many bikini girls will fit in your pod car? One. Although I joke that I'm going to call the Indian version the Karma Sutra, and people will do two people in it for inappropriate things. David, I'm interviewing Galliano Tiramani next week. What are you? Let's see. A house a minute is 525,600 houses a year. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. How long will Tesla till Tesla goes America-wide with insurance? How much of a profit will it add to their bottom line?
How much will FSD reduce motor vehicle collisions? Let's see. So I believe Tesla will be serving roughly potentially serving 80% of the United States population by the end of this year. That means it's going to have insurance offered in most of the large states. Or I should think it's 80% of Tesla customers. So I think by the end of 2024, it will be in almost every state. How much of a profit will add to there? It'll add some profit to the bottom line, but everything I'm seeing, they're not pricing they're not pricing the insurance to make a profit. They're pricing it to make owning the vehicle more attractive. And I think long term, as the cars go to self-driving, then the liability falls to Tesla, and the Tesla insurance actually goes to zero in the long run. I don't think Tesla insurance is a long-run business. It's a short-run business to grow the company, grow Robotaxi. Sorry, not to grow the company. And then it may be useful for other purposes in the future. And it may be that they can spin off Tesla insurance to selling people homeowners insurance and selling people life insurance. I just don't think that's something that Elon wants to do, though. And maybe Zach will pursue that or something, or maybe there's some entrepreneur within Tesla who has ideas about that, but I haven't seen it. Thank you, Michelle. What is the secret of Monkey Island? I don't know anything about Monkey Island. Is Carpathi on its sabbatical a declaration that Operation Vacation has succeeded? I like your thinking, but I don't think so. I think there's a lot of people on the Tesla team, and people just don't realize that Carpathi is one of many. There's a lot of really smart, hardworking, motivated, passionate people at Tesla in a lot of areas of the company, and Carpathi he's important. He matters a lot. He's probably in touch, and they probably check with him about things. Please raise your camera. You're not. I'm trying, man. How many plaids were sold in the USA in 2021 and thereafter? I don't see a high volume of Model S and Model X yet. I'm hoping the volumes go up to maybe 25,000 a quarter. And I think we're getting close to that, and maybe we can get beyond that. I don't have my Model X plaid yet. That seems to be delayed. I'm okay with that. I'm not in a hurry. Let's see. How many Gigafactories will Tesla announce this year, in which country? I've answered this question a couple times already, but short answer, I think you'll see Gigafactories, new factory buildings announced for Texas, Berlin, Shanghai, and then Osaka. I don't think there's another. I think those are the 4 locations that are most likely. Osaka, because Japan is the 4th largest car market in the world. So I think they may announce that they'll be building factories, and the factories will be built next year, and they will be up and running in 2024 to make the Robotaxi. The Tesla, whatever the Robotaxi is going to be. Can Tesla thrive without Elon? Absolutely. Grid storage, there definitely is grid storage competition. I think that BYD maybe. I think anybody who makes, I think LG Chem may have grid storage competition. I think CATL might have grid storage competition. I don't know how motivated those companies are and how well thought out their plans are. Yes, not having a Model X plaid is a high-class problem, I agree. I don't know enough. I don't know that the case for the United Kingdom for a Gigafactory makes a lot of sense. I think it probably makes more sense to build in Berlin than in London, in the United Kingdom. I'm not sure what the advantages of building them in the United Kingdom versus Berlin. So a House admitted as their goal with a new $1 billion factory raise. That's boxable, maybe. If someone gets pulled over for drunk driving and they're drunk, what should they do? They should use the fair DUI flyer. Do I think Elon, thank you, Florian, for your support. Do I think Elon and Neuralink will be successful in solving a wide range of brain diseases in the next 10 to 15 years? Yes, yes, yes. I'm really excited about Neuralink. Elon tweeted recently. The big tweet recently was when Elon said that that Neuralink currently uses 1,000 electrodes, and he expects that to increase by many orders of magnitude, which sounds like ultimately Neuralink will have at least 1 million and probably more like 10 million or 100 million electrodes, which means it will be very, very capable of doing a lot of good in the brain. Number one, it'll be helpful in directly on its own solving problems in the brain, you know, helping whether it's paralysis or blindness or deafness or whatever, or certain diseases. But I think it will also help us understand the brain better. I think that it's probably the organ we understand the least in the body, and I think it will help us understand the brain a lot better, and that will also help us cure other brain diseases. see. Tim Crowley says RTGs are radioactive power generators used in spacecraft designed for operation in deep space. I have no sense that they will matter on Earth. Did I see Siobhan's responses about, you mean Siobhan Zillis? Beacon, there's a 2-minute delay on comments, but I'm not sure if you mean Siobhan Zillis. I don't know who Siobhan is about the Twitter acquisition. Do some of your friends and family think you're too crazy about Tesla? What do you mean some? They all think I'm too crazy about Tesla. But my daughter's excited to get my Model 3 when I get my Model X Plaid. How long is the wait for the X? I ordered my Model X Plaid in August, and it looks like I might not get it until July. I think the wait for future Model X buyers is probably several months, but I haven't looked at it. Why has the Model 3 in Europe become a 49,000 euro car? It was 38,000 euros a year ago. Supply chain and demand. I mean, if they don't price the car higher than the wait for the car, then there's more demand and the wait for the car gets longer, and it's not great to have a vehicle, a car company where people are waiting that long. Does the delay of the Model Y release potentially signify issues ramping the 4680s? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of different ramping issues. First of all, we know there are issues ramping the 4680s. So it's coming. Any other asset stock you think can 10x? I did a video called Beyond Impossible. I think Beyond Meat has real potential to 10x or even 50x or 100x. I think Arcimoto has potential to 10x. And actually, more than 10x. If they can solve their issues, both of those companies, if they can solve their issues, if they can get the execution down and start delivering products at lower cost and higher volume, then I think both of them can 10x. Outside of those two, I haven't thought I don't think a lot about other companies outside of the Elon space, but I do think that those two, they're high risk. They might not succeed, right? Stephen Mark Ryan thinks that Beyond Meat is a terrible idea and will never succeed. So, maybe Stephen's right and I'm wrong. So I did not see Siobhan Zillis' tweet about Twitter, so I will take a look at that later, I guess. Model X has a 13-month waiting list. So yeah, one of my theories is that I'm going to buy the Model X Plaid. I'm going to drive it around for, say, 6 months until Cybertruck becomes available. When Cybertruck comes available, I'm going to sell the Model X Plaid to someone who's willing to pay, who would otherwise have ordered it from Tesla for $20,000 more than I paid for it, and will be willing to pay me a $5,000 or $10,000 premium to get it right away. So that's the investment strategy in buying Plaid X. It's not for fun. It will be fun, but it's not for fun. How much time will Elon devote to Twitter? Very little. I think Elon is going to put very little time in Twitter, just like he puts very little time in Neuralink and Boring Company. He wants to get it done. I think he already knows who his management team is going to be, and they take over the company and the management team goes to work, and they already have a decent plan. And he'll probably spend 5% of his time on running Twitter. Think we'll ever find a gravitron? No, but I'm not a physics genius. So thank you for your work and videos. Thank you, V. Try Beyond. I think Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger both taste good. I just bought some Beyond breakfast sausages. Saw an old clip where Stephen Colbert asked Elon for some things, and Elon said they would do it. Have you seen it? Would you rate goal completeness? I don't remember that particular. I think, is that the one where he talked about nuking Mars? I haven't done that yet. What's my favorite book? What information sources do you prefer? Well, those are two big different questions. I can't think of a favorite book off the top of my head, but probably Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy would be close. What information sources do I prefer? I really like getting information off of Twitter, YouTube. I like getting different sources. Like I like seeing what leftists say and what right-wing people say and what Europeans say and what Japanese people say. I like seeing different perspectives on the same issue. I think that a lot of people get all their news from Fox News, or they get all their news from MSNBC and from one source, or they read the New York Times and think they're being fully informed. And the way you get fully informed is by reading. You want to I remember a judge. What's his name? Can't think of the judge's name. He was a Republican judge in Albany, New York. I can't think of his name. Oh, Bernard Malone, Judge Bud Malone. And I was talking to him, and he was reading the New York Times, and I knew he was a staunch Republican. As a judge, he was. I never felt he was partisan, but he said something like, "I said, why are you reading the New York Times?" He says, "You got to know you got to understand the enemy's position." Wonderful guy, Bud Malone. And yeah, I know people who are like, I think he was a New York Republican. He wasn't like a, he wasn't like a crazy white ring Republican. He just identified with the party. Do I think Arcimoto hits targets of 7,000 to 8,000 FUVs next year? I actually don't pay enough attention to Arcimoto to answer that question. I really like the company. I really like the CEO and the team I met when I visited, but I don't know enough to have opinions on what they're going to do on targets. I believe that they do not have what we see in Elon companies of, I don't see extreme urgency at most other companies, not just Arcimoto. I don't think about options at all, Lazaro. If I had to choose, would I live Elon's life or Bezos's life? I would choose neither. I like living my life. Elon's got a really rough life. People think Elon is living like this luxury billionaire life. Elon lives really hard. I think he's haunted in a sense. I mean, he just can't get things out of his head. He has to work. I don't think he enjoys. I think he gets some enjoyment out of life, and I think he's really leaving his mark on the world, and he'll be remembered. But I aspire to be. I don't aspire to be like Bezos. I aspire to be like Elon, but I don't aspire to be Elon. So if I could be 1/10 of Elon, give me 1 second. Phone battery's almost dead, so I got to plug it in. Okay, that should be better. Let's see. What do I think of the Lucid Saudi $100,000 car deal? I think it's just another example of Lucid being in trouble. It's a dumb deal. It doesn't make any sense. If they have great demand, why do they need this deal from the Saudis? Do the Saudis really have a market to sustain $100,000 cars? It's not really a $100,000 car deal. If you read it closely, it's really more like a 50,000 car deal or less. Do I see Tesla under 2,000 in 2023? I think Wall Street can, what is the saying? The market can be stupid, can be crazy longer than you can be solvent. You can't predict how bad the market will behave. Did you see my boxers? I tried to hide them. I think if Arcimoto made a version with side door. Arcimoto has a prototype with side doors that zip close. They already have that prototype. I saw it in person. It happened to drive up while I was out with the CEO. We went up to some park and somebody else was driving around in the prototype. So, have you ever caught yourself thinking of others' Wonderbox? No. I mean, women's Wonderboxes, sure. Can Arcimoto overcome supply constraints and grow in the next 5 years? I don't think the Arcimoto's problem is supply constraints. I think Arcimoto's problem is execution. I mean, supply may be an issue. David Borg says, I speculate the next week's V11 update will be end-to-end, meaning it will auto-park without confirmation. No, I don't. First of all, I think next week's update will be 10.12. I don't think version 11 is happening yet. I don't think auto-park is high on the priority list. I think that they're working on developing or improving the what do you call it, the raw photon count version of FSD, and they would be bringing version 11 will deploy FSD beta to interstate highways. All right, I think I answered those. Let's see. At least I'm wearing something. Did you guys actually see the boxers? I thought I did a good job of hiding them. At least not tidy whities. Nice checker. Okay, if you saw the checkered, then you know that I did see them. I didn't hide them well. Would I like to see a movie made about Elon? If so, who would you like to play his part? Well, that guy in China, obviously. No, I don't see a need for a movie about Elon. If there was a movie made about Elon, it would probably suck. It would probably get half of the story wrong. How much longer do I think Ford and GM will survive, especially with the Biden administration trying to prop both of them? I think that all with maybe a couple of exceptions, I think that all internal combustion engine car makers will go bankrupt within 5 years. And then they will get bailed out by their governments, and they will fail again within a few years after being bailed out by their governments. They simply cannot function in this market. They can't do it. They can't do it. They don't have a viable business model going forward. I mean, the combination of Tesla delivering EVs in volume, probably at least one or two other companies delivering EVs in volume, and then, yeah, I just don't see it. Yeah, there's a book on Elon in the works. It's by Walter Isaacson. I think that's the guy's name. He's the guy who did the Steve Jobs biography, which was brilliant. You still like Mary Poppins after the Disinformation Czar song? I haven't seen that. What is my favorite place to travel? Where's the best road trip in the United States? Great questions. My favorite place to travel ideally would be Japan. I would really like to go back to Japan. Costa Rica I really like. I don't have one favorite place. I've had a lot of fun going to Austin, Texas recently. I like traveling around Florida. Florida is a great state. There's a lot of great stuff here. I like being at home too. What's the best road trip in the United States? I think driving, that's a tough one. I think the drive from Los Angeles to Florida was a pretty good drive, but there's some long stretches that are kind of boring. So I guess I would say the best road trip would be, like, the East Coast has too much traffic, so, you know, probably hitting Nashville. I haven't seen that, you know, it's strange. I've seen a lot of the US, but I haven't seen that much. I'm gonna be driving around the country, so I'll have a much better opinion on that soon. What would be the next Tesla product reveal and when? So the next Tesla product reveal will probably be Cybertruck. I think Let's see. Akihabara, Japan. I think, isn't that the shopping district with all the electronics? There was a movie made about Elon and Tesla, a newer version called Who Killed the Electric Car. I haven't seen that. Well, I guess there have been movies made about Elon Musk. They're called Iron Man. Iron Man is movies about Elon Musk, right? Did I see the new hybrid with lower miles per gallon than full gas? I did not see that. Is there any car maker or startup that will produce cars in 2030 or will all be bankrupt? I think that NIO Motors in China, I think a few Chinese car makers will survive. I think that that Hyundai or Kia will probably survive to 2030 anyway. I think the thing is the Robo taxi network sort of changes the whole game. Oh, Sam asks, any updates on my single passenger vehicle, my one person vehicle, what I call the pod car. The pod car, I have an engineer that I'm working with, and we just did a I was concerned that the vehicle might be riding too high. The wheels are the width is pretty narrow, and I was looking at the design and I got concerned that it might be riding too high. So my engineer just did a center of gravity analysis. He spent 5 hours using some kind of tools to evaluate the center of gravity, and it is a little bit high. It's an alpha prototype, so we're just going to limit the speed. And I have a vision for the next generation prototype beyond that will be significantly lower. I've got a different idea about how to locate the batteries in the vehicle, and we're going to set the stance a little wider, and I think it's going to work better. Am I going to a Doctor Strange 2? I don't think so. I don't go to a lot of movies. If I had to sleep with a man, would it be Elon? I wouldn't sleep with a man, so I'm just not even going to address the question. I have no interest in sleeping with a man. What is my favorite beer? Maybe Chimay Ale from Belgium. Chimay Ale, I don't know if it counts as a beer, but Chimay Ale is probably one of my favorite beers. Yeah, I'd have to go with Chimay Ale. And Kriek. Kriek also from Belgium. Kriek, the fruity beers from Belgium. Those are two of my favorites. The raspberry, strawberry, whatever. They're fruity beers from Belgium. Those are pretty good. I don't drink much alcohol and I don't drink much beer, but if somebody gave me a Chimay Ale or a Kriek, I would probably drink that. When does Tesla sell more than GM or Ford? When does it become the highest volume auto producer, 5 years than or before? Okay, so Tesla will probably deliver more than 4 million vehicles in 2024. I don't think they'll get there in 2023, but 2024, I think they will pass Ford in 2024. I think they will be delivering more than any other producer by 2026. They will be the highest volume auto producer, I think. And that's by volume units, by units rather than revenue. They'll be a higher by revenue in 2025, if not 2024. Let's see. When do I think robo-taxis will go live? I keep getting asked that question. I think it could be the end of 2023, but 2024 is probably a little more likely. When will the micro environment stabilize? Has supply chain issues peaked? I can't predict that stuff. First of all, I don't know what the micro environment is. I know what the macro environment is. I think the macro environment is in serious trouble. I don't see any sign that the Federal Reserve, the U.S. federal government is, and other countries' governments are really messing up the macro economy, and they're not accepting the responsibility for what they are doing. They are spending too much money, which is a fiscal issue, and then they are using their monetary policy to fund their spending, which is another macro issue. And until governments recognize they have to cut spending, we will not get a control of the macro environment. They're just really messing up the economy. Do I think that anyone in the US besides SpaceX will send people to space this decade? I think that Rocket Lab might send people to space by the end of the decade. I believe that Rocket Lab is working on a launch platform in the US, but I think the reality is that SpaceX will be seen as the much more reliable launch platform, and it's unlikely that anyone will bother doing that. Dinner with Elon or Liv Boeree? Oh, I would take, as much as I love Elon and I would really like to have dinner with Elon, I actually genuinely have a crush on Liv Boeree, and the chance to have dinner with her and to see whether, she would actually I should see her. If Liv has a solidified boyfriend or is married, then no, I would choose Elon. But if there's the slightest chance in hell that I could actually have a relationship with Liv Boeree, absolutely 100% Liv. I do have a massive crush on Liv Boeree, and I've told her that on Twitter. So I don't think I'm in her league. I think she goes for billionaires or something like that. I don't know. I mean, totally in love with her. I don't understand her. I'm not trying to say, what her unquestionably, it's a puppy love right now. I don't really know her, so I don't really know her well enough to be in love with her, but she ticks all my boxes for sure. And as much as I love Elon and I would want to have dinner with Elon, I would choose Liv first. Does Tesla have enough resources to build their batteries? Every other car maker does not have enough batteries. Great question. Yes, right now, for the next year or two, I believe that Tesla has enough resources to build their own batteries. I think there's an issue with the supply chain going forward, and they need to secure, obviously from the earnings call, lithium is the biggest thing that they need to secure. Mark says his crush list is so long. The only other one on my crush list is Siobhan Zillis. Siobhan Zillis at Neuralink and Liv Boeree are my two crushes. I don't have any other crushes outside of those two. And neither one of them is like, I don't know them personally. If you see my video about Siobhan Zillis, she's just really smart. I really appreciate smart women. There's a lot of beautiful women. There's very few women that are that smart and that intellectual and that interesting. So why haven't we heard anything on Dojo? I don't think there's that much to tell about Dojo. Do I think the number 2 and number 3 and number 4 largest automakers in the US will be Chinese? No. I think the number 2, number 3, and number 4, I think it's likely that China will have large automakers in China. I don't know how likely it is that they will have automakers in the US. How did Saudis give up Twitter to Elon so easily? I don't know the answer to that question. I do think it's interesting that the Saudis, maybe they just don't have as much free cash as we thought, and maybe the prospect of the Saudis taking control of Twitter was too much of a leap. I don't know. I follow Siobhan on Twitter, but there's a lot going on Twitter. Look, I have a crush on somebody. It doesn't mean I'm not obsessed about either one of them. I just have crushes. Japan, hoppy, and soju. Yeah, I'm not into soju. Sake, Japanese sake is something I drink a lot. I drink occasionally. I actually had sake the other night, a couple times recently, and I like premium rums, like Pilar, premium white rums. Pilar, there's a couple others that I really like. I have one Pampero from Venezuela is another one. Yeah, Pampero rum from Venezuela, Pilar rum from Key West, I think it is. It's like a Hemingway-related rum. Will I do a Tesla SpaceX review if the government says aliens are in the solar system? I don't understand that question. What is my favorite part about Tesla? Too big to answer that question. I like a lot about Tesla. I guess I would just say I like the innovation culture. The culture of like, crazed, passionate, motivated, let's solve really, really big problems, let's work really, really hard on it, and let's come up with really, really innovative solutions. That is what I just love. Dindora says, introduce yourself, I don't know you. Hi, I'm Warren Redlick. I have a YouTube channel. I make videos about Elon Musk, SpaceX, Boring Company, Neuralink, Lucid Motors, other related technology companies, Beyond Meat. I retired as an attorney. I'm still technically an attorney in New York State because they won't let me retire. So I was a trial lawyer for over 20 years, had over 50 jury trials. I'm a father. I have 2 wonderful children. I'm divorced and looking to get married and have kids again. I'm in the middle of my midlife crisis and I'm trying to go all in, so I'm buying a Model X Plaid. I don't know. Alexander, I don't even mean we have to make your crushes worth it. Dindora, I don't know if I gave you enough of an answer. Let's get a date set up for our boy with his crush. Yeah, good luck with that. I did live in Japan for a year, and I visited Japan 2 other times. I am thinking about traveling to Japan to try to find someone to marry because the US is a really, really hellish place to try to find a wife right now. And I think I may have a matchmaking service in Japan that I just spoke with the other day that may help me connect with somebody. I want to get married and have kids again. Let's be clear. I'm good at it. I have references. I really enjoyed being a dad. And I think I produce a really good product. C was on Lex and it's halfway through. C equals Grimes. Yes, I watched the first, 20 minutes of the Lex Friedman Grimes interview, but I didn't have time to watch the rest today. I will be watching that. What industry is ripe for disruption? I think housing. Well, first of all, meat. I think Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods and lab-based meat really have the potential to disrupt the meat industry. And then I think housing, there's really need for some kind of disruption in the housing industry. And I don't think Boxable is it, but I think that there's a real need for that. And I think it's a good question. I mean, honestly, we don't usually see the disruption coming until it's already upon us. So but those are 2 that stand out to me. Meat is one I'm aware of because of Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, and housing is one you can just see the insanity. Oh, let's see. Dindora says that was a really good intro. Why don't they let you retire? It's a quirk of New York procedure. Like I didn't file something before I retired, or I didn't pay them $500 or something, so they're not letting me retire because I didn't do it the way they want me to. And I'm like, okay, whatever. What are they going to do? Disbar me? I already retired as a lawyer. I don't know. Do I cook myself? Or order on a daily basis? I don't cook myself, but I do cook for myself. I almost exclusively eat food I cook for myself. I do occasionally go out to eat, like especially when friends say, hey, let's meet somewhere. I just had an Asian buffet lunch because I was at a World Tai Chi Day thing and we went to an Asian buffet afterwards, but I almost never go to buffets. I almost exclusively eat food I cook for myself. I tend to cook low carb. Basically my cooking strategy is I throw vegetables and meat in a pan and see what happens, frying pan. Sometimes in a pot, and I made a really good chili recently. It was ground sirloin and lentils, and not a true chili, right? It's like a sort of my version of a chili. Ground sirloin and lentils and onions and garlic and zucchini and mushrooms, I think. Did I have mushrooms in it? I'm not sure if I had mushrooms in it. And chili powder and do I think Alset Homes will turn around? I don't think Alset Homes. I don't believe that Alset Homes is really a sound company. I don't know. I think it's a nice idea that I don't think I have never seen any signs that Alset's going to execute. I haven't looked at them recently. Do I think the FAA is purposely delaying SpaceX? No. I think that bureaucracy is bureaucracy, and that's just a pain. I've made chili before, Mark, and a lot of times when I make chili, it doesn't work. I wish I knew what I did right last time, because last time was really good. Yes, I still want to have kids. No, let's be clear about this, because this is, came up in the intro. My kids are basically young adults, and I'm really everything, changing diapers, tutoring algebra, moving the oldest one into an apartment, like everything about being a dad, all the way through. I'm not saying there were never bad moments, but I really, really loved being a dad. I still love being a dad. I still, I'm having dinner with my youngest in a couple hours, and then I have a FaceTime with my oldest tonight. And I had a FaceTime with my oldest 3 days ago. Like she calls me, because she's got something. Really, really enjoyed everything about being a dad. It's the best thing I've done in life, and the results are really, really good. I'm very, very proud of my children. They are both hardworking, responsible, motivated, thoughtful, intelligent young women, and I think I could do that again, and I would be very proud to do that again. And I challenge is just finding, it just seems like there's so many women who don't want to have kids, and there's so many women who don't. I'm going to say this is my sales pitch, okay? If what is your goal, and to the women out there, and I'm going to say this. Listen, I have a 65,000 subscribers. There's only 353 people watching, but I would just ask you, tell your female friends, anyone under 35. Just be clear, my age target is under 35. I'm not saying I'm not flexible to say 40, but generally speaking, under 35, because fertility matters, and age matters for fertility, and age matters for birth defects. I'm willing to be a little flexible on it, but under 35. What are you looking for in a man? Right? What are you really looking for in a man? If you want to have kids, what is the most important thing that you are looking for in that man? And I will tell you, I think the most important thing you're looking for in a man is that he's going to be a good father. If you think that him having money matters, I didn't have a lot of money when I raised my kids. I had enough. I have more money now than I had when I raised my kids. So what matters? What matters is someone who's going to invest time in the children. Are they going to invest time? Are they going to invest their effort? And then, do you want somebody who's never raised a kid before? Or you want somebody who knows he's good at it? I can prove you can. If I'm dating the right woman, we have a few dates. At some point, you're going to meet my daughters. My last girlfriend met my daughters. My daughters are awesome. And it's like the tough thing is at some point I recognize my daughters are way better than my girlfriend, right? So there's a challenge there, right? My daughters are much better people. They're much smarter, harder working, motivated, thoughtful, well-behaved, whatever. So what were some of the questions here? There was a question about Japanese. No, I don't want to. I believe in this. Is one of those funny things. Like you see all these people who say they don't want to have kids. You see all these people that ask them, look, you either believe in the theory of evolution or you don't. If you're going to tell the world, this is one of I love to mock the left on this. You keep telling everybody how the Republicans don't believe in evolution, but then you say you don't want to have kids. Look, if you believe in evolution, you should be having kids. Be fruitful and multiply isn't just a religious doctrine. It's evolution. That's what evolution says you should do. If you believe in the theory of evolution, you should want to have kids. And the number of women and men who say they don't want to have kids is off the charts. It's crazy. Like, what happened to the world? So I want to have kids, and adopting doesn't create more children. Elon's concerned about the fertility crisis, whatever. Slightly this is motivated by the fertility crisis. I'm not going to make that much of a dent, obviously. But I want to look. Evolution means I want to spread my genes. I don't want to spread somebody else's genes. So, kids need a lot of money. That's a problem. Kids don't need a lot of money. That's false. That is absolutely false. Kids do not need a lot of money. Plenty of children have been raised without a lot of money. Plenty of great children have been raised. They need time. They need your passion, your time, your thoughtfulness, your care. This notion that there's a money issue is totally false. Let's see. Women like security, and you might have financial security, but being a good father is not helpful when you're gone. Why am I going to be gone? I'll be 75 I'll be a healthy 75 when the kids turn 15. What are the odds of me being? I'm not too old for kids. I'm in great shape. I go to the gym every day. I eat healthy. I was going to the gym with my ex-girlfriend, and I'm riding the exercise bike at level 12, doing 80 RPMs, and my heart rate is 120, and she's doing level 3 at 60 RPMs, and her heart rate's 150. I'm in great shape. What's wrong about waiting until you have grandkids? I don't know that I will have grandkids. Why do people keep looking for excuses for me not to have kids? What's wrong with me having kids? Why is there so much objection to a healthy, motivated person who wants to have kids having more kids? I don't understand why there's so much resistance to this idea. What happened? You go back 30 years, 50 years, people wanted to have kids and they wanted to have more kids. It was normal. What the hell happened to our culture? I don't understand it. Why are so many people so upset about this? What is wrong? What if she takes your half, or if she's a Karen? Well, that's why you don't marry him on the first date and you have a prenup. So a Filipino woman might be a better choice. They generally love to have children. I've heard about Filipino women and Colombian women. The difference is that I know Japanese culture better than I know the other country. Are you enjoying the YouTube live chat? I've always enjoyed the YouTube live chat. What I don't enjoy is getting off the chat and finding out that YouTube has demonetized my video. And it's very likely that that's what's going to happen here. I don't have any opinion on the Amber Heard case. I haven't watched it. I don't follow that popular culture crap. Ordering a Japanese girl. I'm not ordering a Japanese girl. I'm hoping to meet a Japanese girl. Am I really sure I want to get married again? Yes, I'm really sure I want to get married again. I'm really sure I want to have kids again. I can have a prenup. I'm really not worried about my wife taking half if that's what happens. It's not. People are obsessed about money. Stop being obsessed about money. Why is everyone so obsessed about? Look, my ex-wife got more than half. And you know what? She deserved it. Okay, she got more than half, and I'm happy for her, and I want her to be happy. There's gonna be all sorts of factors that go into something if there's a divorce in the future, but practical reality is my ex-wife's a great person. She was a great wife for a long time, and she earned what she got. She deserves more than she got. Do I know specifically if it's parts, components, or raw materials that is holding Tesla's solar back? As Buffalo will move off the, but really quick before I get off of this, if you know a woman who wants to have kids, who is healthy enough to have kids and is serious about having kids, and preferably is under 35, but maybe under 40, I'm open to considering that. Simple question: do you want somebody who's a good dad or not? What if you have kids and you end up with dementia? What about those youngsters then? So my mother and her mother developed dementia around the age of 80. So if I develop dementia around the age of 80, my kids will be 20 and they'll deal with it. I dealt with it when, I don't see that as a huge problem. And I'm hopeful that Neuralink will help, even though Elon said he doesn't expect it to directly help Neuralink. I'm hoping that that won't directly help dementia. I'm hoping, first of all, there's only a 50-50 chance that I get it at best. No males in my family have ever been diagnosed with dementia, only females. And of course, most of the men die before that, but my mother has Alzheimer's, her brother doesn't, he's 89. So, and I think Neuralink will help us understand the brain. I think living healthier will help the brain. I think there's a lot of things going on there. And it's not ordering a Japanese woman, it's finding a Japanese woman who wants to marry. Yes, I still want to have kids. Wow. All right, let's go back off this topic. 50% of marriages end in failure. So what? I don't want to adopt kids. I want to have my own kids. Why do people not understand evolution? Why is this so hard? My wife didn't leave. We split up. We divorced. Don't assume she left. How's my health and my ancestry's health? I'm in great shape, and my uncle lived a very healthy life. My mother's physical health is great. Let's see. What was the reaction to your Ben Sullens video? I noticed he edited his video after your critical review. I thought it was a very positive reaction to my Ben Sullens video. Both of my Ben Sullens videos have had very good reactions. Not objecting, it's just hard to be someone with a big age difference. There's a lot of differences between people. You're going to marry someone who's different from you. And there's a lot of differences between you and that person that you're going to marry. Is age the biggest one that you're concerned about? I was just talking to a woman who was married to someone and they got divorced and he was physically abusive. Look, 26-year marriage, never physically abusive, never cheated, never insulted. I mean, probably said something she didn't like, but, never called their names. I'm a good person. I'm a good husband. What do you want? Do you want, a full head of hair and six-pack abs? I can't deliver those, right? Do you want somebody who's going to be a good dad and a good husband who's caring and thoughtful? Are you a career woman who wants to be able to have kids and still have a career, and you want somebody who's going to be able to stay home with the kids and be a good dad? I'm it. I'm the guy. I can make YouTube videos in my free time, and I can spend time raising the kids, and you can go have your career. How is it possible that your wife divorced you? Don't assume that my wife started the divorce proceedings. What if you're Hannibal Lecter? I'm not Hannibal Lecter. I have like plenty of references. I have plenty of real, in addition to the following I have on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I have a lot of real world friends. So, you can meet my daughter. If we're dating, you'll meet my daughters. You should take sponsors to have more kids. I don't know what that means. What would sponsors do? Warren wants up to 6.9 kids. Many women want 0.69 kids or less. Yeah, I mean, 2 would be good, 3 would be better. Will Starlink have gigabit service? I think it already has potentially gigabit service. I don't know what the fastest speeds are, but it will ultimately have gigabit service for customers who are paying for that. I don't think the average customer needs gigabit service, so it'll probably be a higher cost option. Hey, Vito. 90% of companies fail. Marriage is a better option. Interesting. Matt says, everything I've looked at about Alzheimer's and dementia is brain atrophy. You're fine, Warren, you're a thinker. No, my mother was very, very smart, was very much a thinker, and it got her. Alzheimer's is a really, really cruel disease. Sample Invest, people with money. Why is everyone so obsessed with money? Look, I have enough, right? There are people who are obsessed with getting more. I was on the stage in the Bulls versus Hyperbulls debate, and everyone on that stage has at least 10 times as much money as I have. Every one of the Bulls and the other Hyperbull have at least 10 times, and probably some of them have 20, 30, or even 100 times as much as I have. How delusional is Elizabeth Warren? I don't think Elizabeth Warren is delusional. I think Elizabeth Warren knows exactly what she's doing. She's lying. What Tesla earnings per share do I expect for 2023? Great question. I think Tesla earnings per share for 2023 will be greater than $30. So if it's greater than $30 and you still assign a price earnings ratio of 100, that's $3,000 a share by the end of 2023. What it should be worth, not what the Wall Street will assign the value. Watch the racial slangs. I don't know what the racial slangs are. Young women seek soy boys that play video games, then get upset the men are boys and lazy and won't commit and worthless. I really do feel like it's striking what women are looking for. I don't think it's that women are looking for soy boys that play video games. I think there's a few women like that. I think that women are looking for, that 80% of the women are looking for the 95th percentile men. They're looking for the top 5% of men. And the problem is that the top 5% of men could only conceivably marry the top 5% of women, right? So the women who are in the top half, right, should probably start to set more reasonable goals. And this is what I've read and what I've seen. I don't know this for sure, but I'm fairly confident that this is the reality. I don't think it's about soy boys and video games. It's that they're looking for the unattainable men. And then that men in that group have unlimited supply of women. And so they feel no need to commit. They're getting sex as much as they want. And this is the other thing, like on the male side, the problem is that men have the wrong goal. Women have the wrong attitude, men have the wrong goals. The correct goal is you want to find someone, this is the goal for both, what the goal should be for both sides. You should be looking for someone to marry and have children with. This is what human society has been about for thousands of years. You should be looking for someone to marry and have children with, and you should be fruitful and multiply. Right? That is both a religious concept and what evolution says. And people are looking for someone who's funny. They're looking for somebody who's good looking. They're looking for somebody who's going to entertain them. They're looking for somebody who has money. Like, are they going to be a good dad? Are they going to be good to you, and are they going to be a good dad? Are they going to care about you? Are they going to support you in your career if you want to have a career? Are they going to support you if you decide you want to stay home with the kids? Are you looking for a man who's going to buy you dinner, or are you looking for a man who's going to pay for your kids' college? right? What's more, and honestly, I mean, that's the biggest thing is it seems like a lot of women my own experience on dating apps is a really large number of women are looking for a guy to buy them dinner. Really? That's what matters to you is whether the guy buys you dinner? How about, is this guy going to be a good dad? Is he going to be a good husband? Are you looking at those questions? I'm probably going to make I'm now confident I'm going to make a channel called Green Pill Dating where I'm going to talk about this extensively. So, if you get married, will you have your wife sign a prenup? Probably. My lawyer has told me yes, I need to. Where are the next batch? I've talked about the the next Gigafactory question like 5 times in this video, so I'm not going to talk about it again. Inessa keeps saying, what's wrong about waiting until you have grandkids? How do I know I'm going to have grandkids, Inessa? And why can't I do both? Why can't I have my own children and have grandkids? Why are people so obsessed with the idea that, why do people think there's something wrong with wanting to have children? Inessa, can you answer that question in the chat? Can you tell me why are you resistant to the idea that I might want to have children? Why is this disturbing to you? Why is it so troublesome to you that you think, well, Warren, you're just too old to have children? I'm not too old to have children. I'm 56 years old. I'm in great physical shape. I've been checked out by a doctor and confirmed that I'm fertile. I'm qualified to have children. Maybe that's too much information, but I'm ready. No, green pill because it's green means go. I think white pill might be taken. Green means go. There's black pill, there's blue pill, there's red pill. I don't think there's a green pill yet. How many members of the Twitter board will survive? 0. The Twitter board is out. The board becomes irrelevant in a privately held company. The SpaceX board isn't important either. Alexander says, you're not too old. My husband was your age when we made number 4 and number 5. Yeah, I just don't understand this. My boys still swim. That's Ben. That's the word. That's the way my best friend phrased it. You got to make sure your boys still swim. I love that. Do I think the age gap is weird? Yeah, it's a little weird. It is a little weird. I agree with that. It can be a little weird. There's a lot of differences between men and women in a relationship. Is that, if that's the only problem, is that really that big of a deal? JF says my father was 66 when I was born. I wanted another one, a girl, when I was 42. You already have children. Why do you want to have kids again? Because I love having children and I'm good at it. I really enjoyed raising my daughters. I'm really proud of how they turned out. I think I can do that again, and I think I would do it well. Can you be my dad? My mom's looking for a good man. I don't want to be your dad. I want to have my own kids. I believe in evolution, even if you don't. I want to dump Spectrum. I have gig service, but I want to support Starlink. Who just saw the launch yesterday? 57. I didn't see that launch, no. Am I looking for the unattainable woman? Possibly. I don't think I have unreasonable goals. I'm not looking for a supermodel. I'm not looking for, I really think I'm a great fit for a career woman, but a professional woman, an entrepreneur who's going to be working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and she needs to know that there's somebody at home who's got the kids covered. And I've got that. If you have children, you'll have no free time and no energy to make YouTube videos. Trust me, I'll find the time to make YouTube videos. That'll be my relief from it. Japan is my best bet. Maybe. I think there's still hope in the United States. What is my estimate for total revenue for Tesla for 2022? That's a good question. 1.5 million vehicles times an average selling price of $60,000. I think it's around 100 billion when you add everything up. Around 100 billion for total revenue. My timeline for Teslabot. I think that Tesla starts producing Teslabot in medium volume next year, like an early version of Teslabot, like 10,000 of them. And then I think it's by 2025, they've got a revision to like a real serious production version of Teslabot, and they start making it in higher volumes. And then 2026, I think we start to see Teslabot actually starting to make an impact. Not off the charts, but really starting to make an impact in 2026. And I personally think there'll be an FSD, a bot beta program. So, Mark says, my wife is developing memory problems at 64. We all have memory problems. I have memory problems and I'm 56. I think you're saying your wife is having more serious memory problems. I'm sorry for laughing. I shouldn't have laughed at that. Surprised as someone as opinionated as you could have ever gotten married. No offense intended. Yeah, I think that's actually a challenge. That's probably a big challenge. somebody concerned about 25? I didn't see that. I don't know if was that view deleted message. I think a 25-year-old woman would be possible too. I'm not ruling out 25, but my 17-year-old said she had the woman I marry has to be at least a year older than my oldest, who's 20. So, going through surrogacy right now, I think that's an option. I don't love that option. I think that's really hard. If you got to $20 million in Tesla, would it make sense to buy a hard asset like a small apartment for $2 million to diversify? Pros, cons. I definitely think that some diversification makes sense, and 2 million out of 20 million is probably about the right amount, yes. I don't know about an apartment. That's probably not, I wouldn't buy an apartment, I would buy land. Should young men wait to have kids if they're not making a lot of money? No. No. My uncle and my aunt started having kids when he was in med school. They lived in like a 1-bedroom apartment with 2, 3, 4 kids or something like that. Stop imagining that you have to live a luxury life. You know, if the goal is to have kids, have kids. You know, do you need to have Starbucks twice a day and, you know, the high-end cell phone account and everything? You know, can you live like a reasonable life? Amber Heard is available. I don't think Amber Heard is available. I don't do price targets. I think the stock is already worth $5,000. Just be clear, I think the stock is genuinely worth $5,000. If you're looking at the future, Tesla stock is worth $2,500 to $5,000 a share today. Because you're looking at the future potential for it to go to $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a share, you would easily pay $5,000 today for something that's going to go to that level, and I think it's going to go to that level. But on more traditional valuation measures, you say like a price-earnings ratio of 100, end of 2022, should be at least $1,500 a share, but I'm not sure it will be. I'm only 20, but honestly can't imagine having kids. I'd better be so damn rich. I think people think it costs more money than it does to have kids. It's not about the money. It's about paying attention to the kids. It's about caring. If you don't care, then that's a different story. Will Tesla be a $2 trillion company in January of 2023? Probably not. It's possible. It should be, but it probably won't be. I'm just looking at I'm looking at the chat to see if there's any other questions here. Let me go down here. All right, so we've been going for over 100 minutes. Which, if any, of Tesla's products is most likely to have serious competition at some point in the future? Whew. Good question, Declan. Which, if any, of Tesla's products is most likely to have serious competition at some point in the future? I don't have a really good answer to that. I don't see anybody competing seriously with Tesla on any product line. I mean, maybe in the short term, Rivian is competitive with Cybertruck. Maybe, if they can manufacture at scale. In the long term, I think Tesla develops the Robo taxi network and dominates, and nobody's coming close to doing anything like Bot. I don't see it. I just don't see it. If there was a general purpose human food like dog or cat food, what would be the ideal ingredients, nutrients, if optimized for all? I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist guy. That's not my space. And I also think that the ideal nutrients vary from person to person. So the idea that there's one set of nutrients that's perfect for everybody, I think, is misleading. I think we all need different diets. Jim says, suggestion to look for dating young divorced women with kids. There's a lot of them here in Florida. So the problem is that I don't know where I want to live, and a woman with children might not be able to move because she might have to stay near her spouse, the father of the children. That's the problem with that theory. Tesla buying Boston Dynamics. There's no reason for Tesla to buy Boston Dynamics. Different type of robot, different purpose. What's my spirit animal? I never thought about that. I don't know what a spirit animal really is. Will your future wife be able to use you as an excuse to get out of jury duty? Nice, nice. Since the interview with Peppers, are you going to try options? I looked at options, but I would have to use margin, and I can't use margin in my IRA, so it doesn't make sense. Inessa says, I had 2 kids by the time I was 24, and I didn't have a lot of money. I think I did a good job. Everyone is happy and got through college. Exactly. I don't think it's about money. And if it is about money, I have money. I thought Bezos was going to have a space war with Elon. Bezos is still suborbital. Let me know when Bezos launches an orbital rocket. Teslabots can maybe do EVAs on Mars and other crazy. Yeah, Teslabot will be really, really important for space. Now that Twitter is secured, purchased, Elon can talk freely about SpaceX and FAA regulations. It's not. I don't think it's secured yet. I think that's going to take a while, and I don't see why the Twitter purchase has anything to do with SpaceX and FAA regulations. Yeah, Hyundai already owns Boston Dynamics. True, that's true. Watching my parents struggle financially is hard, so I wouldn't want to stress out my kids. Are you better off today than your parents were when you were born? If you have more than your parents had when you were born, what are you worried about? Are you a $17 million lawyer? I don't even know what that means. I generated millions of dollars in revenue as a lawyer, but I didn't retire as a lawyer. Well, I am a millionaire and I just retired as a lawyer, but I didn't. Being a lawyer did not make me a millionaire. Tesla stock made me a millionaire. It looks like you block people when they ask you unanswerable questions. I am not moderating the chat, Dindora. I have moderators who moderate the chat, and I did not see the question that you asked that got moderated. I don't know what the question was. I thought you were asking good questions before, and I don't try to control the moderators because it's too much work. So I don't know what set them off, but if you asked a question they didn't like, then they didn't like it. What's the best advice you can give a young man who's very unsatisfied with how slow college is, or rather, do you think it's important to find a balance or deep dive into one thing? I think it depends on what you want to do. I would say if you want to, I think right now the best opportunity is in like artificial intelligence, working in artificial intelligence field. I don't think you need a college degree for that. I think you need to learn artificial intelligence programming. You got to figure out what you want to do. Is there something you want to do? Can you learn how to do that without going to college, and can you get a career in that without going to college? And Tesla is going to hire you, or SpaceX is going to hire you if you're good at the subject matter without regard to whether you have a degree. Are other companies going to insist on a college degree? Maybe. But I think if you throw yourself into this, like, let's say coding, and you become a good coder, you will find work coding. And you will be able to rise without a college degree. Being a lawyer, do you like Better Call? I thought Better Call Saul was absolutely. I watched the first episode and I thought it was absolutely awful. I watched Breaking Bad. I think the character Saul is absurd. I've never met a lawyer anything like that in my life, and I think it's offensive. I think people. I have my concerns about the legal profession, but I don't think it makes sense to just be absurdly offensive about lawyers. What was my obsession prior to Tesla? SpaceX. I've been obsessed with criminal justice issues, the drug war, DUI, checkpoints, politics, libertarian politics in particular. Is $10 a month a pain to get internet on the Tesla browser? It feels like a parasitic draw. I don't know about that. Would I buy real estate investment in the current market we are in? I think real estate value is going to go up. I'm not a real estate investor, so that's not, I think there's different kinds of real estate investing, and I just don't know enough about it to really be useful on that. How many more kids do you want? Like 1 or 5? I think 2 or 3 was a good start. I think see how it goes, and if we can have more, and more the merrier as far as I'm concerned, but at least 2 or 3 would be what I would like. I'll take 1 if I can get it, but I would like to do 2 or 3. I think it's better if they have siblings. Just a personal opinion. I mean, I don't think that, single kids are that out of whack, but it's better to have siblings in my opinion. I think my 2 kids did better because they had siblings. I don't have a theory on why we haven't heard much about Dojo. I think they're making progress on it, and I don't think there's anything to tell us. If population is decaying, why would real estate increase in value? Because of inflationary government policies they're just printing money. Years ago, I met a lesbian couple in real estate that wanted me to father a kid with one of them. No kidding. A kid with one of... It was too weird for me to be a sperm donor, but maybe I should have. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would do that, but I want to be involved in raising a kid. I don't just want to, I guess I wouldn't say no to that, but I want to be involved in raising the kid if I can. Any tips, tricks, guidance for students on earning money? I think tutoring, like it depends where you are. Like I'm trying to get my oldest is really, really good at math. And I think being a math, if you can tutor math, it's a really good way to make money. I don't answer how many shares I have. But I say I have more than 500 and less than, no, I think the answer, sorry, I have more than 500 and less than 5,000. Yeah, that's what I typically say. Warren, as a lawyer, what are the obstacles for Tesla insurance to go? I don't think there are significant obstacles for Tesla insurance to go other than some states being difficult or some countries if they go to other countries being difficult. Do I fear that my kids will resent you if you die too soon? No. No, I think that's like a kind of a nonsense fear. I think if you're a good dad, as long as you can be a good dad, then that's good enough for kids. I have a friend who's like 78 years old now. He's got 2 kids that are, now approaching adulthood. He's in good shape. Can someone retire with $5 million in Tesla? Sure. You can retire with $1 million. Depends on how you need to live. Do I think of real estate as an investment good or a consumer good? Both. Depends on what real estate. What about surrogate mom? I don't know why people keep asking about a surrogate mom. I want to get married and have kids. I don't want to just have I think it's better if I raise the kids with someone else. I want to find somebody that I enjoy spending time with and enjoys spending time with me, and maybe I can help her. Maybe I can help a woman grow as well. AI career will be difficult without a decent STEM degree. I don't agree with that. I think if you can learn to do artificial intelligence, machine learning, coding, whatever, I think you can do fine. Would it be legally possible for Tesla to forcibly push an over-the-air software update to a specific vehicle or even remotely deactivate it for reasons like reckless driving? It worries me. I don't think so. I don't know. That's the kind of thing that like why worry about really small probability events? Let's worry about big things. You are statistically much more likely to have kids with autism, Down syndrome, or other issues. That's false, Jim. Jim, that's absolutely false. An older woman has much greater risk for birth defects. Older men have there's an increase as men age, but the increase is much, much smaller. So when you say statistically much more likely, no, that's not true. A tiny bit more likely, that's true. A woman, as they age, when they get over 40, it starts to become much more likely to have problems. But even that, I looked that up. It's actually not as dramatic as you might think. The fertility is a huge issue. The birth defect issue is overblown. I mean, it's there, it's real, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as people think. Do I think our generation is avoiding taking risks? Your point of view is very different. I think, first of all, I think it's not a good idea to pin it down to your whole generation as one thing. I think first of all, I don't think my generation took that many risks. I don't know. I kind of think that your generation that some people in your generation might be more willing to take risks. So I think there's a fairly significant variety within generations. I definitely think your generation is having fewer kids. And I don't fully understand why. Do you know if Tesla has any sort of responsibility to assist law enforcement to solve high-profile or dangerous cases? I don't think they have such a responsibility. Not a legal responsibility. They have a moral responsibility, maybe. For what it's worth, my dad was 50 when I was born. Mom was 10 years younger, and he always said I helped motivate him to eat healthy and feel younger so he could be more present in my life growing up, and that is exactly why I am eating healthier and living healthier, because I want to live longer and I want to be there for my kids. Beer or hard liquor, McDonald's or Burger King, Coke or Pepsi. Rum only for hard liquor. I generally don't drink, and only premium rum. McDonald's or Burger King, probably Burger King. Don't really like either very much. I'll eat them. Coke or Pepsi, Coke. Have I considered Grimes? I like Grimes. I don't know Grimes well enough to have an opinion. I haven't watched the Lex Friedman interview. I don't really know that much about Grimes. Philip says, I would love to hang out with you at the bar, Warren. You must be hilarious to watch. I don't try to pick up women in bars. I don't think that's the place you're going to meet the woman of your dreams. I don't know where is, unfortunately. Let's see, there was something I saw up here. Was X Holdings just for Twitter financing or other Elon companies may fall under it? I believe X, the transaction they did was only for financing Twitter. It's very simple, Mitchell says. Women today put their careers and fun ahead of kids and marriage. By the time they realize their biological clock is running out, it's too late. There are younger, hotter women. Yes, but the younger, hotter women are also putting careers and fun ahead of kids and marriage, right? So that doesn't really work either. There's a lot of, that's sort of what Mitchell put in the chat is sort of what the red pill dating channels say. Is, you know, there's this, again, like I just said about generations, women aren't all the same. Women of that generation aren't all the same. There are good women in any generation. The challenge is finding them. And I really think that it's not so much blaming the women, is that the cultural message, the message that women are getting about how we're supposed to live lives, and the message that young men are getting about how to live lives is just not the right message. Meet them at the grocery store. Sure, I go to the grocery store, but how much time can I spend at the grocery store? I don't get that. Major Human says, what are my dollar per mile predictions for robotaxi in the short, medium, and long term? Will it eventually be free? Short term, once the robotaxi network goes live, I think $1.50 per mile. Medium term, I think it gradually declines to under $1 a mile. I think there's a moment when it gets down around 70 cents a mile where you start to see a large number of people shift from owning vehicles to robotaxi. And it takes a while to get through that hump, and then long term it gets down to 25 cents a mile, and then if we get my pod car, it gets down to $0.05 a mile. Thoughts on Democrats having Elon Musk testify before Congress? I haven't heard any hint of Elon testifying before Congress yet. I'm sure he'd be willing to testify if they wanted him to, but it seems to me like the Democrats usually prefer to pretend he doesn't exist. And I think there would be a real danger if they had him testify before Congress that they would look really bad and he would look really good. Yeah, Stewie says the Lex, if you haven't seen it yet, Lex Friedman just interviewed Grimes. The video went live about 20 hours ago. And what I saw of it was really good, really smart, really interesting person. I'm going to watch that soon. Do I do dating on apps? Yes, I use JDate, JSwipe, Hinge, Tinder, Match, and Bumble. I think right now Hinge is the one that's my favorite. But I'm not sure, you know, and honestly, none of them are very effective. They're all crap. They're all terrible. Tinder is like a cesspool. Match just doesn't have a lot of people on it. Let's see. I think the matchmaking services are my best bet. We'll see. Some Democrats would not like Elon to testify. Honestly, he would eat Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren for lunch. He recently humiliated AOC on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, it's just a disaster. What's the right message? The right message is that, Matt Senko asked this question, what's the right message? The right message is that one of the fundamental purposes of our existence is to find someone to marry and have children with. Find someone to marry and have children. This is a fundamental message that used to be delivered repeatedly from all angles when I was a kid, from religion, from your parents, from your grandparents, from the schools, from television, from movies. That was the message. That's it. And it's gone. That message is dead, and the messages are confusing, and oh my God. Let's see. You probably won't be around, Jim Manley. Like, I just love this nonsense. You probably won't be around when teens, 20s will need you most. My kids are in their teens or 20s and they don't need me the most. Like, I don't know if are you a dad? Have you been a father? Like the needs that kids have when they're infants, their toddler years, their elementary school years, there's so much more need for their parents when they're small. My kids are 20 and 17 and they are basically responsible adults and they don't need me. They need my money right now. College is already paid for, but they need my money at certain moments. If there's something wrong with the car, they need me, or there's occasionally like some form they got to fill out and they need me. Most of the questions they ask me, mom could answer. There's value. Certainly there's value in being a parent. And I expect to still be around when my kids are 20. I'm hopeful that I can do that. Do women actually sign prenups these days? Yes. Thank you, Aaron. I feel like I'm irresponsible, so I'm not having kids. I think that's a fake account. I think you're pretending to be Gordon Ramsay. I don't know. I think Elon should go out and interview on MSNBC. I think Elon would be happy to interview on, but they, is it going to be live? Like, he's not going to do an edited interview. It's got to be live, and they can't handle him. They're afraid of him. Thoughts on Joe Biden's foreign policy towards China, India, and Asia in general? I don't think Joe Biden's foreign policy is that much different than Donald Trump's foreign policy, which wasn't that much different from Barack Obama's foreign policy, which wasn't that much different from George W. Bush. I think the idea that foreign policy changes much when you change presidents is laughable. I think 98% of foreign policy is the same from president to president. And people think that there's some massive difference. Can Constitution be changed to make Elon electable? It could be changed. It won't be changed. And he doesn't want to be president. And it's not the best use of his time. What president has accomplished more in their careers than what Elon has done? Marry Indian woman. I would marry an Indian woman. I love Indian women. I love Indian food. I think Indian culture is brilliant. How do I find an Indian woman to marry? I'm open to that. Can you hook me up, Dindora? Elon asked his kids if they wanted to hang out, and they said no. Yeah, my kid does. I'm going to take my younger daughter to dinner tonight. Visit Thailand, and you'll want to move there. Lots of very kind women. I want to look. I have kids here. I want to be close to my kids here. I'm not giving up my current kids to have kids. I want to be in Florida, ideally, for at least the next few years, because my youngest is probably going to go to college in Florida, and I want to be close to her in case she needs me. And Florida is also closer to where my older daughter lives and makes it easier for me to get to her if I need to. Living in another country is not really an option. Visiting another country for a month, sure, but living in another country is not really a viable option. Let's see. How many Teslabots will be in the government in 30 years? They're already there. All of Congress are bots. They're just not Teslabots. All right, so let's see. We've gone over 2 hours. What's this? Men and women are too self-absorbed. Donald Trump accomplished more in 4 years than anyone else. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so people believe that. I'm not saying he accomplished nothing. I just don't see a huge accomplishment there. I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm not a Donald Trump. Well, I am a Donald Trump hater. I don't hate him. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. Let's be clear. But I don't see that I think people talk about his accomplishments, and I just don't see that much. And you can argue about that till you're blue. It's really hard to measure. This is the thing. Whichever president you're talking about, you can say he accomplished something. But how do you measure it? And how do you measure it in a way that makes sense? And I don't. He increased spending dramatically. He didn't end any wars. He didn't start any wars, so I'll give him credit for that. And they were pushing him to go after Iran. Is there anything your ex-wife could say or do for you to consider reconciliation? We've had those conversations, and we haven't gotten back together. All right, so we're over 2 hours. I think we've gone through just about everything. I will close with a couple of messages. First of all, please consider supporting this channel as a YouTube channel member on the Locals platform. On the Locals platform and Patreon. It helps me to, a video like this probably isn't going to make a lot of money. I just really enjoy doing it and getting that kind of support. And it gives you the opportunity to ask questions that will be answered in the beginning of the video. Please check out the t-shirts. I'm wearing the Cybertruck t-shirt today, Cybertruck t-shirt, Tesla and Air t-shirt, all at elonbits.com. Check out my other videos. Please tell your friends to watch this. Please tell your friends you're under 35 or 35 or under female friends who are thinking about getting married. Preferably career women, not Hooters, waitresses, JF. I think a woman who has a career and is motivated will appreciate me more than a woman who doesn't have a career. Please spread the word. Say, hey, Warren's looking to get married and wants to have kids. If you want to have kids and you want to have somebody who's a great dad and a good husband, then call me. All right. They can get my email address on the about page of the channel. You click, I think you have to enter your something, and you have to click a box, and you get my email address. Or just message me on Patreon or whatever. DM me on Twitter, and we'll talk. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks to my YouTube channel members. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. Thanks to my local supporters. And thank you so much for watching. How do I end this? There.